You did it again last night. $1 for shipping. That's all it said. A free trial. Just cover the postage. You typed in your card number, told yourself you'd cancel before the trial ended, and you closed the tab feeling clever. You will not cancel in time. You know this. On some level, you always knew. 14 days later, the charge hits. Somewhere between $15 and $100, quietly, every month, for a face cream you used twice. And when you finally try to stop it, there's no button. There's a phone number, open only on weekdays, staffed by someone whose entire job is to keep you on the line. Here's the part that stings. You are not stupid. You read the fine print sometimes. And it still happened. So you land on the obvious answer. Greedy companies. Predatory design. You should have read closer. You should have set a reminder. Next time you'll be smarter. But it's wrong. Not the greed part. The part where you think this is about you being careless. There's a man who spent his whole life arguing that the trap was never the fine print. The trap was the desire itself. His name was Jean Baudrillard, and he is either the sharpest critic consumer capitalism ever produced, or a brilliant mind who talked himself off a cliff. I think it's both. Let me show you why. Baudrillard was born in 1929 into a dirt-poor French farming family. No property, no books, nothing. He broke with his parents in high school, refused the normal academic path, and kept every institution he ever touched at arm's length. By the late 1960s, he was teaching in Paris, translating Marx, absorbing everything, and growing more radical by the year. Then, in 1970, he published a book called The Consumer Society, and he opened with a simple observation that most of us have never actually sat with. He said we no longer consume objects, we consume signs. Here's what he meant. Old school economics talks about use value, the usefulness of a thing. Bread feeds you. A coat keeps you warm. Marx added a second layer, exchange value, the price. But Baudrillard said, the modern world runs on a third layer entirely, sign value. The meaning a thing broadcasts about who you are. You don't buy the car to get from here to there. You buy what the car says. You don't buy the perfume for the smell. You buy the person it implies you are. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Take the most successful example in history, a diamond. In 1947, a copywriter named Francis Garrity, working late at N.W. Ayer, an old advertising firm founded in Philadelphia, was stuck on a slogan for a diamond company called De Beers. Exhausted, she scribbled 4 words. A diamond is forever. Think about what those words did. A diamond is a rock. Hard, shiny, geologically common. There is nothing inside carbon that means love. Nothing. But that sentence welded the two together so completely that today the idea feels like a law of nature. The numbers tell the story. Before the 1950s, only about 1 in 10 American women got a diamond engagement ring. By the end of the century, it was nearly 9 in 10. When De Beers entered China in the 1990s, ring ownership in the big first-tier cities went from basically 0 to over 60% in little more than a decade. Now, was the diamond rare? At its 20th century peak, according to Harvard Business School's casework on the company, De Beers controlled close to 90% of the world's rough diamond supply. They manufactured the scarcity. And the preciousness? A copywriter manufactured that at midnight in 1947. This is Baudrillard's point landing. Capitalism takes something historical, something invented, and dresses it up as eternal truth. The diamond doesn't point to love. It points to the ad, and the ad points to another ad. Signs referring to signs all the way down, never touching anything real. Which brings us back to your subscription. Because once you understand sign value, all the little traps stop looking like isolated scams and start looking like one system speaking one language. The hotel that lists $89 a night then adds a resort fee, a facility fee, a destination fee at the final click until the real price is a third higher. In America, these junk fees pull an estimated $90 billion a year out of ordinary pockets, more than $650 per household. The bank that reorders your purchases, largest first, so 1 overspend triggers 3 overdraft fees instead of 1. The bank that reorders your purchases, largest first, so 1 overspend triggers 3 overdraft fees instead of 1. The bag of cheese snacks that looks identical to the one from 2010, but holds half the product. Same can, same price, quietly gutted, shrinkflation. Adobe, burying a clause that says leaving your annual plan early costs you half the remaining balance, a clause the FTC sued over in 2024. Adobe, burying a clause that says leaving your annual plan early costs you half the remaining balance, a clause the FTC sued over in 2024. None of these are accidents. They're all the same move. Separate the sign from the thing. The price you see is a sign. The product you get is something else. And the gap between them is where the money lives. Now, if you're feeling okay about this, you're thinking, fine, I'll just stop chasing signs. I'll opt out. Buy plain, cancel everything, and get back to what's real. Baudrillard would laugh at you. Gently. And this is where he gets dangerous. In 1999, the Wachowskis released a film made for about $63 million that went on to earn roughly $467 million worldwide, and rewired how a generation thought about reality. The Matrix. They handed Baudrillard's book to the cast as required reading, and Morpheus says the line, pulled straight from Baudrillard's own text. Welcome to the desert of the real. The film asks the terrifying version of your subscription problem. What if there is no real world to get back to? What if you're plugged in so deep that the simulation is all there is? Baudrillard called this the hyperreal, a copy so perfect it replaces the original. His example was blunt. See a president on television every day, then meet him in person, and the real man feels less real than the screen version. The map has eaten the territory. The advertisement has eaten the product. And there is no unplugging, because there's no outside left to unplug into. That's the payoff. That's the idea that made him the most radical thinker of his time. He looked at the whole machine and declared that reality itself had died, that we live inside a hall of mirrors with no exit. And here's where I get off the train. Because Baudrillard, brilliant as he was, walked himself into a corner and called it enlightenment. In 1991, he wrote that the Gulf War did not take place. His point was that we consumed a packaged media event instead of a war. Fair. But he said it with a shrug that suggested nothing was real anymore, so nothing could really be grieved. That's the move that breaks him. That's a man so in love with his own theory that he stopped being able to see the actual bodies. Come back to your bank account. The auto-renew charge is not a sign. It is 15 real dollars, gone. The overdraft fee is real. The half-empty bag is real hunger for real money. The Gulf War killed real people. Baudrillard was right that the meaning gets manufactured. He went too far when he decided the manufacturing was all there was. The system wants you to believe there's no outside. That resistance is just another product. Buy the shirt with the rebel's face on it. Baudrillard, at the end, believed the trap completely. He gave up. You don't have to. Because the truth about your $1 trial is simpler and more hopeful than the desert of the real. The desire was manufactured, yes. The sign was fake, yes. But the button you go press to cancel it, the weekday phone call you finally make, the moment you refuse the resort fee and walk out of the lobby, that's real. That still works. Baudrillard spent his life proving the walls of the maze were made of signs. He was mostly right. He just decided there was no way out and stopped looking for the door. You're standing right in front of it. Go cancel the subscription.